Good morning, students. Welcome to our this online class. From this class, we are picking up our unit 4, which is about terms and concepts, and then about literary history, in which we will take the Renaissance India and the Anglo-Indian or Indo-Anglian writing. In this class, we are going to discuss a couple of literary terms. First of all, it is paradox and antithesis. Paradox. What is paradox? So far as the etymology is concerned, paradox is derived from a Greek word that means paradoxos, and the meaning of this word is incredible, or which is very difficult to believe, contrary to expectations or existing belief, that we cannot believe. How can it be? That type of amazement is on our face. That is paradox. So, to simplify it, we can say that paradox is a statement which seems on its face logically contradictory, absurd, or against traditional ideas, and yet turns out to be interpretable in a way and makes the reader think in an innovative fashion. It is a frequent component of verbal wit. It is also called verbal wit. It is just playing with the words. So it is logically contradictory. It means that our thinking gets confused. Logically, it appears to be very true, but when we analyze it, it presents two or more contradictory ideas together. So, that is the special quality of paradox. For example, the Irish writer Oscar Wilde was particularly noted for his use of paradoxes. We are taking an example from his book, The Picture of Dorian Gray. He writes, well, the way of paradoxes is the way of truth. Means the statement is not invalid. The statement is totally correct and it holds the ground. To test reality, we must see it on the tightrope, but we will have to judge it. When the varieties become acrobats, we can judge them. It is just the play of words. To simplify the term, we can say that a paradox is a statement that is contradictory in itself, or that may be both true and untrue at the same time. If you think from one point, it cannot be true. If you think from another point, it can be true. So they are quirks in logic, and it demonstrates how our thinking can sometimes be confused. Paradoxes sound reasonable. They are not obvious nonsense. They appear to be reasonable, they make sense. And only upon consideration that we realize their self defeating logic. So, it may be a play of words, but ultimately it increases the effect of the expression. We will take examples. If you have read the poem Death Be Not Proud, written by John Donne, in that poem it is said, Death be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful. One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more, death thou shalt die. So, death you will die, and then the power and strength of death is described to be invincible, mighty and dreadful, no one can defeat. That is paradoxical statement. One short sleep past, and we wake eternally. After death, we become immortal. We wake eternally. After death, there is no further perishing. There is no further dying. So, these type of statements, these type of expressions are paradoxical in nature. Then, what is the use of paradox? Why it is used? The purpose of a paradox is to capture the attention of the reader and provoke fresh thought in the mind of the reader. It is an instrument that is fundamental to the poetic language. not only because of the literary juxtapositions but also because a paradox continuously redefines and further qualifies meanings of ordinary words. It gives new color to the meaning of words. When two terms, we will take it further in our next slide. Now we move to antithesis, because paradox, antithesis, oxymoron, these things are very closely related. Now, antithesis. Antithesis is also derived from a Greek word that means setting the opposite. Anti means opposite and thesis means to place. So, when opposite things are placed together, it becomes antithesis. Antithesis is a contrast or opposition in meaning. It shows a similar word order and structure in its syntax. Some famous antithetical statements have become part of our everyday speech and are being frequently used. For example, man proposes, God disposes. Proposes and disposes, two opposite things are placed together. Man and God opposite, very contrasting images are put together. Speech is silver but silence is gold. Speech and silence, these things are put together. In literature, writers employ antithesis not only in sentences but also in events and characters. So there may be antithetical characters or antithetical events also in a work of literature. The famous example is to err is human, to forgive divine. It is taken from Alexander Pope's An Essay on Criticism. Through these antithetical ideas, Pope reveals the basic nature of humans. It is only human to make mistakes, but it takes more than just human, something divine to forgive. That is the message. The An antithesis uses exact opposites or contrasting ideas to strengthen the argument of a sentence. It makes the narrative more striking through balance and emphasis of the word. So here the structure, the parallel structure of the opposite ideas is important. In paradox, there is no such binding of structural parallelism, but for antithesis it becomes very important. We can say that antithesis is a figure of speech in which two contrasting or opposing ideas are juxtaposed with one another. They are placed very near to one another. Unlike paradoxes, antitheses are not contradictory. It is not that the statements made in antithesis is always contradictory. No, it is not the condition. This condition applies to paradoxes. Nor do they seem to be contradictory. It is usually the opposite of two statements, means one statement is placed and another opposite statement is placed together. In literary analysis, an antithesis is a pair of statements or images in which the one is opposite the others or the one reverses the other. The pair is written with similar grammatical structures to show more contrast, and means it is within the similar grammatical structures. It has generally two parts, thus we can say that antithesis has two parts, or we can identify two separate parts working together in an antithesis. These parts are generally separated either by a comma or by a semicolon, by a dash, or by using some joining words like but or these type of things. So, though it is paradoxical, but it is not contradictory. We should be very careful in understanding these two terms, because paradox, antithesis, and oxymoron, these appear to be very similar, but their function is different. So, what is the difference? Antithesis generally involves the use of parallel sentence structures. So, two or more grammatical structures at the sentence level we can say, are placed together containing opposite ideas. But this structure is not necessary or is not found in paradox. In paradox there is no this condition of juxtaposition, of placing together, of where placing very near the opposing ideas. They may be spread, they may be scattered. So this is the difference between paradox and antithesis. Then another term which I have discussed, it is not in our syllabus but we should be aware of this, is oxymoron. Oxymoron is again placing together of opposite, but it is placing together of opposite words. We can say that a quality that is just against the nature of the noun, nature of the main word, is joined to that word. For example, if you have read the Spenser's poem, there are words like cold fire, hot ice. So fire cannot be cold, but it is said cold fire. Hot ice, ice cannot be hot, but it is said so. Then it becomes oxymoron. Actually, oxymorons means to make someone foolish. It is again derived from a Greek word that means, that is oxymoros. Here oxy means sharp or acute and moros means foolish. So you are made foolish by believing in cold fire, by believing in hot ice. But here in literature, oxymoron we can say is placing together of opposite words. So for example, oxymorons examples are sweet sorrow, hot ice, cold fire. So oxymoron is usually made up of two words. A paradox can be expressed in many different ways. It may be in a concept, it may be in a description, it may be in a situation, and antithesis is generally limited to similar sentence structure. These are the basic differences between these terms. So, thank you students, thank you for today. In our next class, we will take other literary terms prescribed for our syllabus.